Now in the Premier League, there's only 2 games today. There is, like I said, there's the 3:30 is the early kickoff. It's a London derby. It's Chelsea versus Fulham. This is really a derby. There's so many derbies in London, but this one feels like it has more of that derby feel than most. And then Newcastle versus Manchester City. That's at 8:30. But for the game that starts in all of 5 minutes, it's Chelsea versus Fulham. And I can give you the lineups of who's starting and who's where. Petrovic starts in goal for Chelsea. Then you've got Gusto at right back, Disasi and Silva in central defense. And then Colwill at left back, Gallagher and Caicedo in midfield, and then sitting at the base of that midfield, and then Carlton Palmer, Enzo Fernandez and Raheem Sterling, all of them playing behind Broha. So that's the way they line up. 4-2-3-1. They take on a Fulham side that, for the most part, in that League Cup semi-final, did give Liverpool something to think about. They battled gamely. In the end, they couldn't quite hold up, but they battled gamely, and they're a team that does like the big sides. Remember, they caused problems to Liverpool also in the league, of course caused problems to the Arsenal in the league. So today there they are, also 4-2-3-1. Bernard Leno is in goal, Tete, Adarabioyo, and then Diop, and then Robinson at left back, then Paulinho, who is really good, Kane sitting at the base of that midfield, and then Willian, Pereira, Wilson, and Jimenez. Willian especially I thought he was very good versus Liverpool in that League Cup game. You can tell he's not what he used to be. You can tell he's not as mobile and agile and quick as he used to be then. And the work rate maybe has dropped a little bit, but you can see how he was able to move around with his experience and cause problems for Liverpool. So that's the game today. Of course, Chelsea are having shall we call it interesting, like Bernard likes to say. They've won their last 2, though, in the league. They beat Palace, and then they beat Luton. And they're on 28 points. They are all the way in 10th. If they win today, maybe they go up into the top. No, they're already in the top 10, yeah. But maybe they move up a little bit and catch up with the likes of United and the likes of Brighton. And on the other hand, you've got Fulham, who won those 2 back-to-back games where they won 5-0, 5-0, and then after that they lost 3 on the bounce. They lost to Newcastle, they lost to Burnley, and they lost to Bournemouth, but then they bounced back, beat Arsenal 2-1 the last time they played in the league. Then there was that game, of course, in the League Cup only recently, where I thought they looked decent. They gave Liverpool a bit of a fight, and who knows what they can do today. Chelsea traditionally doesn't seem to do well versus this. I know they did beat Luton, and they did beat Palace, which you say are teams in and around Fulham, but generally Chelsea haven't been great versus this kind of teams. These teams like Fulham, teams like Bournemouth, those are the teams that might cause them a problem. So let's see how they behave, because I feel like Chelsea have been the better side when they can let you have the ball and then they can try and press you, rather than when they're setting the agenda. So let's see what happens to that. Game kicks off in all of 11 seconds, maybe 9 seconds. It's Chelsea versus Fulham. It's the early kickoff game. It's a derby. It's a good game. Silva's teams tend to play really well. Marco Silva tends to plan to set up his teams to do really well. Of course, Chelsea have in the news for a lot of stories and a lot of things that's happening. The biggest thing, the fact that they are now worried about just how long Nkunku is going to stay out. Remember, their list is quite a big list where injuries are concerned. Chalobah is still out, Kukurea is still out, Fofana is still out, Jackson, of course, he's away at the Africa Cup of Nations. Rhys James out. Lavia, will he ever play for Chelsea, by the way, this young man? It's been quite a while. We've been waiting to see what he can do. Nkunku came up, he scored his debut goal, and then out with an injury. Sanchez, of course, injured, and Ugochukwu also injured. So they've quite a bit of injuries still to deal with for Mr. Mauricio Pochettino. For Fulham, their biggest miss, of course, it's Iwobi and Basse, who are both away at the AFCON, and Adama Traore, who's out with the thigh injury. So that's the early kickoff game. It's Chelsea versus Fulham, and like I said, back home in the Kenyan Premier League, there's 2 games going on. Bandari are all the way away against Kakamega Homeboys, and as it stands, it's still 0-0. 29 minutes gone, and the defending champions, Wontimbe Mighty Kogalo 0, Kariobangi Sharks 0, 31 minutes gone. We'll keep you updated with how all those games gone. Those are the early kickoff games in football. Of course, a bit later, we'll talk about some of the movements that are taking place in the Kenyan Premier League. Shaban have a new coach. We'll touch on it and see what can Sami Omolo Pamzo do as far as they are concerned. And of course, our very own Eric Marcelo Ouma with a big move, with a huge move. And there was all this chit chat on social media. Is it a big move? Is it a small move? Where has he gone to Poland? I'm like, guys, you go where the opportunity is. So